India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has hit out at Pakistan after Prime Minister of Pakistan Shehbaz Sharif raised the Khalistani Kashmiri bogey during his UN General Assembly speech. On Sharif calling for dialogue to resolve the Kashmir issue, Jaishankar said that the issue to be resolved between both countries now is only the restoration of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It is interesting to note that over the past years, the Organization of Islamic Countries has distanced themselves from the Azad Kashmir bogey that Pakistan has been peddling since 1947. Turkey's President Erdogan too, for the first time, omitted Kashmir in his UNGA speech. The move could be linked to Turkey's aspiration to join the BRICS group and strengthen ties with India. We at Newsx have raised the charter for reintegration of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We have raised the voice of filling the seats in the 24 assembly seats in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and we have recommended that MPs representing Pakistan-occupied Kashmir should also be elected. The people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir have been tortured and persecuted by the Pakistani army and the police. They have faced atrocities and need support of India to fight the Pakistani forces. The government of India in the recent times has doubled down on reintegration of PoK with India, and this has been reflective in the recent statements that were made by the Prime Minister, our Home Minister, the Defence Minister and now the External Affairs Minister as well. How do we move forward from here? What should be our strategy to take back PoK? How can diplomacy be an effective tool to achieve this goal? Let's start our conversation. Joining me on the telecast first up is Ambassador Suresh Goyal. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me. And my first question about this push that has been very vocally conveyed by our top leaders, from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to our Defence Minister, talking about reintegration of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We have thus far only been able to provide that one seat in the assembly elections after the delimitation exercise has been completed for the Jammu and Kashmir assembly elections that are currently taking place. Besides that, what is the other actionables that need to be taken to achieve this goal?
Megha, thank you very much, and a very good evening to all the listeners and the panelists on this discussion. It's a very difficult question that you have put to me, really. What else can we do, or what should be the plan of action to reintegrate Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with the Jammu and Kashmir state that is part of India? Look, as far as the situation in terms of law is concerned, in terms of international law is concerned, the matter is under consideration, and I'm being very, very careful in this matter, really, because I know I'm going to be chewed up by some of the nationalists. And I'm a nationalist myself, but I'm also a diplomat. The matter is on the part of agenda of the United Nations. And that means, and I've suffered through the same fate myself when I was in the United Nations, that the discussions can be held in the United Nations Security Council anytime, that any nation in the United Nations thinks it fit to reactivate Security Council discussions on the issue. It happens. Therefore, my submission is that while we maintain our position on the floor of the UNGA as to what the position is, and that the matter, it is listed as a matter of dispute. The matter of Jammu and Kashmir is listed as a matter, it's actually mentioned in UN as Kashmir. As the matter of dispute, we need to look through other political means. And I'm again being very, very careful here. We need to basically promote and create other political processes through which there is a movement on part of the people of Jammu and Kashmir to come towards reintegration with the existing state of Jammu and Kashmir in India. Now, that's a long drawn process. It is not going to happen in a day or two, or even a year or 2 years. A weaker, economically weaker Pakistan, where resources in PoK are exploited, and it has already happened before when there are complaints and there is dissatisfaction from PoK that their resources are misused by Pakistan, and therefore they should have a right over water resources, electricity, power, agricultural resources. There is hardly any development in that area in terms of industry, worth the name. Therefore, if a move can come from people within PoK for the integration, that will be the way to go about it in the real sense. From our side, by providing even one seat for the people from the PoK, even if it remains vacant, in the JNK, we are sending the right signal to the community abroad, to the people, that we have place for you in our political processes. But that seat can be occupied by the people who have migrated from PoK as refugees who came into JNK. That can be done. But I think the process is going to take a very, very, very long time, and we will have to keep at it in a political manner.
Let's also get in Amjad Ayub Mirza. He is an activist from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And Amjad, you always have very strong views and appeal that you have often put out to the government of India to help the cause of the people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. I understand you have also at this point of time been, left without hope in terms of the very limited, subdued action that the government of India has taken for the people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. How do you view External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's comments at the UNGA session yesterday?
Well, thank you very much, Megha. You very rightly pointed out that myself, I feel a bit down because we missed a grand opportunity during the protests of May this year, when millions of Pakistani occupied Jammu Kashmir Indians living under the occupation of Pakistan came out and protested, and Pakistan could not control it. They had to send in troops, they had to send in rangers, and they had to resort to, firing, due to which several of our people, young people, were killed. Now, I have listened to Jaishankar's speech at the UN at least twice, just to make sure that I get the gist of it. You see, I think that he has proven to be a very good statesperson, because calling Pakistan that it is a country that's GDP can be measured internally as the speed with which radicalization is being done, and exports in the terms of export of terrorism, that is fine. But when it comes to POJK, things should have been done which don't seem to be in place. And I would like to make it easy for Suresh ji when he says that it's a difficult question. It's very easy, I think. Number one, I still demand that Indian government should help us to organize a POJK envoy that tours Western countries, Africa and South America, like Latin American countries, where we can present our case. Because at the moment, you see, globally, the case for Kashmir rejoining India is very weak because of the Pakistani propaganda, left, right and center. So I think the world community should listen to a Kashmiri from POJK, because when India and Pakistan talk about Kashmir, it's like it presents a picture of like tit for tat. Let us go and fight the case for our reunification with India. Okay. That's number one. Number two is that I think that the time has come when from POJK, not the refugees, they are fine, they can have their own reserved seats, but from POJK, people who are fighting for the reunification of Jammu Kashmir with India should be given seats in the Jammu Kashmir Assembly. And finally, I think that the time has come when the government of India should help and facilitate us to form a government in exile with its office in either Delhi or Jammu Kashmir, where we can, work in tandem with the Indian government to bring POJK into the folds of Indian Union.
Okay, all right. Let's hear it from Major General Rajan Kochar as well. And General Kochar, in a situation such as this, and there are a number of remedies that have been suggested by Dr. Mirza. Here, there is, a suggestion that has been made by Ambassador Goel as well. But is an all-out war really an option on the table for India? Or diplomatically and politically resolving the situation would be something that would be advised? And is there at this point of time, yes, we need to propagate the message, tell the world about the situation and the history behind the creation of PoK, how it was taken control of by the Pakistanis in 1947, and thereby should there be an intervention by the United Nations to resolve this issue, or are we capable enough to figuring out our own problems?
Megha, thank you very much. I have listened to the two brilliant panelists. The tragedy of PoK is that despite having elected president, prime minister and the legislative assembly, it is basically the Azad Jammu and Kashmir Council, which is under the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who has the final authority on all matters of PoK. And therefore, they have no accountability for their actions. Even if you draw a comparison between Jammu and Kashmir with India and PoK, which is Pakistan right now, you will find in terms of airports, we have 4 airports, we have 2 government hospitals, we have 2,812 in Jammu and Kashmir, they have only 23. And per capita budget of J&K is nearly 5 times more than the POJK. Now, coming to a military solution, I don't think it is possible, because there are 40 lakh people involved in the POJK. All of them are of Muslim population, 100%, and a large area of 13,297 square kilometers. So, from a military point of view, from an occupation army point of view, I don't think that is possible. So the solution lies here on the diplomatic, as you rightly said. The solution lies to project the issue in the United Nations. But what important is the people of POJK have to agree to that solution. They should want to separate themselves from Pakistan, because ultimately it is going to be a political solution. It is not going to be either on the diplomatic or the military front. It is going to be the people of POJK who are going to decide. And as Dr. Amjad has said, he himself is one of the representatives of POJK. He would better understand that if he can mobilize the public opinion in POJK that they are not happy with the state of Pakistan, they would want an independent status, or they would want to be aligned with India in some kind of a capacity. I think that argument will hold good. But unless the people of POJK are brought on board, I think this issue will remain more or less on the diplomatic agenda of both the nations, because Pakistan keeps on harping on Jammu and Kashmir issue. We will also need to keep on harping on POJK issue to actually give it back into the same coin. as a tit for tat mentioned by Dr. Amjad. Beyond that, I don't think there would be much of effort to take this forward. Megha.
Gautam Mukherjee, is there really an option to have a state which then will have an identity separate from Pakistan, which currently is under the control of Pakistan, but an entity that will also not be part of India? Can there really be a possibility of a quote unquote Azad Kashmir to be built here? Versus, is there a sentiment amongst the people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to neither be governed by Pakistan and nor become part of India? And is that even a feasibility that India can look at and perhaps accept it?
Megha, in my opinion, I don't think an independent Azad Kashmir at the rump, the PoK, could sustain itself. One is it has no economic viability. It is even now really sustained by Pakistan, and on its own, it has no resources or ability to survive as a economic entity or even a military entity. So eventually, it is quite clear that it will have to merge with J&K, the Indian part of J&K, and become one state as was originally the case. The opportune time for that is coming because the political instability in Pakistan is growing. Balochistan is trying to break away. Other states are restive. The people are starving. It is a matter of time before the political turbulence in Pakistan spins out of control. It is not true that the army will be able to hold it all together as the time goes on, because its resources will also be stretched, trying to take care of what is actually a very populous country. What we are now doing with increasing clarity is making it very clear that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is part of India, is part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and we intend to take it back. We are not shilly-shallying on that. We are not ignoring that. We are not treating it as an unmentionable. Therefore, we are preparing for the day when this will become a reality. Some element of military intervention will have to be taken care of, in addition to some degree of international support, particularly from the Western powers. We cannot expect any support from China or Russia for that matter. Russia will keep quiet. But it is quite likely the US, France and Britain will support, that's in the UNSC, will support India's cause to take back what is essentially their territory.
Okay.
When the day comes, we will see. But at the moment, it's a matter of preparing both diplomatically and militarily for that day.
Okay. Ambassador Goyal, as the suggestion made by Gautam Mukherjee and Major General Rajan Kochar, do we at this point of time need the consent of the West, of the United Nations, to move ahead with our agenda that has been very categorically made apparent by our leaders, by our Prime Minister himself? We had seen what had happened of the Kashmir dispute, which had been raised by Pakistan time and again within the OIC. We have taken a look at it, has been an issue that has been time and again peddled, a narrative being peddled by Pakistan at the United Nations yesterday as well, and has happened consecutively over the past several years. First of all, do we need the support of the West to really go about our business in taking back the territory that is originally traditionally ours? And again, could there be hindrances put forth by the United Nations or other nations that are in support of Pakistan, which, truth be told, are very few in number? As we saw, the Turkish president, refusing to raise the issue of Kashmir for the first time in several years because of his own vested interest to be part of BRICS. How does foreign interference, UN interference, really help our cause in taking back Pakistan-occupied Kashmir?
In very clear terms, very methodically, really. You said to begin with, is it time for us to move ahead on our agenda? Now our agenda is taking back the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, PoK, but whatever term we used to refer to it. Take it back. Take it back how? The only way that justifies the use of the word taking back is military intervention, isn't it so? And I think Major General Kochar has explained very clearly that this is not the time for military intervention, because it's not a question of military superiority. If we talk in terms of superior military power, then obviously if we were to march into PoK tomorrow, number one, we can't be sure that the Pakistani forces are not competent enough, whatever we may think of them. They may actually be at the moment weaker in terms of the sustainability of a long duration of war, in terms of equipment and everything. But in terms of training, I don't think we can underestimate any opposing armies, particularly the Pakistan army. They have been trained in a similar manner that we have been trained. Maybe the times have changed, but it has been explained very clearly that the military option is not a one which is sustainable or practical at that for the time being. It is simply because one very major factor. If it happens, are we prepared to basically then open 2 or 2.5 or 3 fronts? That's a very good question. That's a very important question we need to consider. And only just like General Manek Shaw, when he advised Indira Gandhi ji at that time that we need to be patient to build our capacity, to build our strategy. We cannot just enter into a war. Therefore, military experts can tell us whether it is time or not, but we will go by their advice in this matter. And it's not for me to say, but personally speaking, from all that I hear, it is not the time really, and it will not work out. Politically speaking, United Nations intervention, but we don't want UN intervention. We have seen the result of UN intervention earlier in the past.
Yeah.
And that's the reason in similar agreement, we are very clear
that
it has to be done bilaterally. Because intervention through United Nations, at that time it was basically the US and UK who actually worked against our positions in the Security Council. Today, there is China. China is definitely going to be going with Pakistani position in that matter. And USA and UK, given their other interests, UK I'm not sure about, but USA is certainly not going to be with India. Therefore, I don't think intervention by the United Nations is the way to go at all. We don't want that. As far as explaining our position through Latin America, I think the delegations going to Latin America and other countries is something that the government of India can explore. Let them take a call on this thing. But explaining the background to the problem of Jammu and Kashmir, it has been done endlessly. I know we have been part of that process for many decades. The MEA has a book in the form of question and answer. What do you call it? Frequently FAQs on the issue. And every diplomat who works in the United Nations, Indian diplomat, has that book. And we have passed on that book to everybody. So it's not that the international community does not know the background, but politically they don't want to get involved and they don't want to be part of the solution.
Right.
Okay. Therefore, again, I come back to the same thing. We have to come to a position when there is a political force generated from PoK itself to become part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. I have only limited time, so I would request my rest of my panelists to keep their answers short. But Amjad Ayub Mirza, then what is your appeal to the government of India today at a stage where the momentum it seems to be building, if not in action, but at least in remarks that are being made, in statements that are being put out?
First of all, I would like to go back to your question that you asked General Mukherjee about the possibility of having Azad Kashmir as an independent country or whatever, and then have relations with India. I think that is that could be a possibility. I do not support that. I want POJK to join India now. But Mukherjee said that if that happens, Azad Kashmir does not have the resources. I mean, this is a laughable comment because all we have is natural resources, waters, forests, precious metal, precious stones, minerals, herbs, and 3 trillion rupees worth of natural resources are untapped in POJK. We produce 5,000 megawatt of electricity. Our requirement is only 400 megawatt. All of our electricity is taken to Pakistan in their national grid and then sold back to us at extortionate prices. Coming back to what the people of POJK want, people of POJK are protesting. Day before yesterday in Rawalakot, hundreds of thousands of people gathered and they were shouting slogans of Azadi from Pakistan. They were not saying anything against India. They didn't raise one slogan against India. They were saying, we do not want to live with Pakistan. And they were condemning Pakistan. Now, why they do not publicly in their public speeches talk about or praise India? Because it's simple. They will be said that inko India paise de raha hai, ye India ke agent hai. It will backfire. Last thing I would say is कि मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कि मैं तड़प रहा हूँ कि मुझे इंडियन गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से POJK के ऊपर एक स्पेशल एनवॉय का स्टेटस दे के इंडियन हाई कमीशन के जरिए मुझे फैसिलिटेट किया जाए so that I can go and meet parliamentarians, deputy foreign secretaries of different countries, and I can explain to them the case. आप बात करें लास्ट स्टेप की, यूएन करेगा या आर्मी जाएगी, भाई उससे पहले बहुत सारा काम करने वाला है ग्राउंड पे जो नहीं हो रहा, उसको करने की जरूरत है, गवर्नमेंट इन एग्जाइल की जरूरत है.
Okay, all right. Quickly coming to you, Major General Kochhar. So, closing remarks. How do you view, again, if you do not want intervention from the United Nations, you are not looking for a stamp of approval from the West, military aggression along the line of control and to take back Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is not on the table. How do we resolve it?
Right, so very clear here. Go to the UNSC, China will veto it. We will not be able to go beyond this stage. And if you are talking about the Azad or independent Kashmir concept, look at Nepal. Nepal is also a landlocked state, and it is able to generate all kinds of its revenues and maintenance requirements. Similarly, if you create an independent country in Azad Kashmir, I am sure, because it has a boundary with India, it has a boundary with China, it has a boundary with Afghanistan, it has a boundary with Pakistan. So these are the 4 countries it has boundaries with, and as Dr. Ayub has said that enough of natural resources are there. they can barter their resources to us, and we can help them with our sort of resources in terms of grains and food items and,
Okay.
and petroleum and all those things. So it is the possibility. I think Indian policy makers must work towards the independence of PoK. I think that should be the right way of going forward.
Okay, okay. Gautam Mukherjee, does the question even arise that there can be a quote unquote Azad Kashmir and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is actually not part of Kashmir? It is not, we are not looking to integrate it. What was originally ours, what was traditionally ours? Does it also not raise then questions over the fanatics, separatists within Kashmir and Pakistan raising the same bogey that Kashmir is not part of India, it is part of Pakistan? Does it then also not help Pakistan's cause of the narrative they have been continuously building over the years?
Yes, I am fairly clear that Azad Kashmir does not work. Yes, it is surrounded by a number of countries, and as Mr. Mirza said, it may have a lot of natural resources. We are aware of that. But in all these 75 years, none of that has really been exploited. There is a little bit of electricity generation, a little bit of dams. The only thing it has been used for is for China to drive a road through it to reach mainland Pakistan. What I meant by support from the Western allies is that, yes, 3 of them are in the UNSC, but I'm not asking for UN intervention or a UNSC type of support. But these 3 countries could, that is France, Britain, and the United States, someday could come to our aid diplomatically and legitimize India's retaking of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And I do believe that will come one day. It is a matter of when Pakistan is no longer an asset to the West. I think it is gradually heading that way. In economic terms, certainly. In strategic terms, gradually. And to counter China. That is why it will eventually come about.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.